10 underrated woodworking items you should be purchasing from Harbor Freight Tools. And item number 1 is going to be one of my personal favorites and very undervalued, and that is the 6-inch Pittsburgh bar style clamp. I think a lot of these are underrated because people are buying the much longer versions. My recommendation is only for the 6-inch unit. This retails for $2.99 and it goes on sale all the time. So simply wait for them to go on sale and pick up 20 or 30. And yes, I said 20 or 30 because you can never have too many clamps. However, just be warned, my personal recommendation is only for the 6-inch clamp. Unfortunately, I have not had very good luck with the 24-inch or the 36-inch versions. We don't know what quality the steel they're using is, and honestly guys, anytime you put the slightest amount of pressure, you're gonna see this thing bow like crazy. You could probably see this one already has some flex in it. I've just had terrible luck with these, and again, I don't recommend anything greater than the 6-inch version. I will probably cut these with my chop saw, put a small tack weld on it, and still get some use out of these. Freeze, sucker! Pew, 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 pew! Pew, 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 pew! All kidding aside, this is honestly one of the most undervalued items in the entire store, and I think a lot of people are really intimidated by an HVLP spray gun. This one's made by Central Pneumatic. This is the anodized green version. This one retails for $24.99. They also have a purple version. That one retails for $16.99. And I personally have over 15 years experience using the anodized purple one in a commercial environment where we were painting signs and we would do over 1,000 signs a month, and we had no issues so long as you follow these 3 pointers I'm going to give you right now. Pointer number 1, always make sure you invest or purchase a high quality air regulator. Tip number 2, and this is probably one of the most important tips, you have to make sure you're feeding this with clean air. You cannot have moisture or dirty contaminated air in the line. That's going to lead to a lot of problems, and it's not the gun's fault, it's your dirty air line. Which brings me to tip number 3, which actually might be more important than tip number 2, but that is cleaning the gun after every single use. That means when you're done with it, you don't leave it sitting on the counter with all your fluid in the cup. That means you pour your excess fluid back out into your container, you invest in a high quality cleaning kit, as well as some small diameter wire so you can get down inside all these holes and crevices. The cleaner your gun, the better it's gonna perform, and you can't blame it on anything else other than yourself. Don't be lazy, clean these bad boys out. So hopefully with those 3 tips, you won't be intimidated to pick up a gravity-fed spray gun. I primarily use this spray gun in my workshop when I'm batching out orders. If I'm just doing one order at a time, sure, I'll just use either some brush-on poly or a spray can, but at the end of the day, the material is very expensive. We're fighting inflation, so I'm trying to help you guys budget, save some money, and put more money in your pocket. So at the end of the day, it's much cheaper to invest in a spray gun and a big giant container of polyacrylic. Simply strain the polyacrylic, pour it straight into the spray gun. You should have no issues. If you do find yourself having some issues, go ahead and thin that polyacrylic down with a little bit of water. And also when it comes to painting, you just need to look at the viscosity of the paint you're using and thin it accordingly till you get a good spray. And always do some test sprays on some cardboard you have laying around before you go and blast a bunch of paint or polyacrylic all over your finished product. And next up, we have item number 3, and that's going to be the Central Machinery Mini Wood Lathe. This is the 10x18 version. Now let's talk about that. The 10 means that's the largest diameter you can swing on the head of the lathe before it runs into the bed. The 18 inches is not the overall length of the unit. That represents the longest piece of material you can turn between centers. The center is going to be between the headstock and the tailstock. I personally love this mini lathe so much that I did an entire video on it with over 300,000 views. If you'd like to take a look at that, I have that link below, or I'll put it in one of these corners, not sure which one. But again, let me give you some pro tips while I'm talking about it. So if you decide to purchase one, you'll be successful starting out. Yes, Harbor Freight sells some high-speed steel turning tools, but me, personally, I would avoid those unless you are very familiar with keeping a sharp edge on high-speed steel. That's a work of art alone. However, the high-speed steel that they're sourcing these turning tools from is terrible. It does not keep an edge. You will spend more time sharpening your tools and fighting the lathe than enjoying it, and at the end of the day, you're gonna sell the lathe and you're gonna blame it on the lathe. Go ahead and bend over and spend the money on some carbide insert tools. Most of them have 4 different cutting edges, so if you chip, break, damage, or dull one, you can simply rotate it. You don't have to stop working on the lathe and go figure out how to sharpen it. Yes, it's an expensive initial investment. However, it will get you into turning and you'll enjoy it more in the long run. And another thing to note, this is a 110 volt unit. It is variable speed. However, you do have to change the speed manually, slight inconvenience. But if you wanted a variable speed that adjusts with a dial, you're gonna spend 2 to 3 times the amount of money. I personally would pick up this central machinery, get a feel for wood turning, and then as you progress and grow into a much larger lathe, you would want to simply hang on to this lathe and set it up as a dedicated polishing lathe or a pin turning lathe. So again, one of the best buys in Harbor Freight, the Harbor Freight 10x18 mini wood lathe. And real quick, while I have your guys' attention, if you're enjoying this type of content, but you want to see this stuff every single day, make sure you're following all my other social media channels I have linked right here. Let's move on. And item 4 is going to be another personal favorite of mine. I currently own the rigid version. However, if you're looking to save a little bit of money, the performance is exactly the same. And I'm talking about none other than the Bauer oscillating spindle sander. And this unit currently retails for $219.99. The only thing that I would personally recommend, I cannot stand Harbor Freight's abrasives or sandpaper. Make sure you look up and see what belt size and oscillating spindles it takes and pre-order some nice sandpaper. You will love this unit once you take it out of the box and get it set up. Trust me, you're gonna wonder how you got by without having one of these. And in my humble opinion, there are a bunch of companies that manufacture a cheap oscillating spindle sander like this. Most of them are made out of plastic and they all have similar specs and performance. So realistically, pick either the cheapest one or the easiest one for you to access. And I guarantee you, you will love having this in the workshop. All right, we're making good progress. Let's talk about item number 5. And that's gonna be these plastic quick ratcheting clamps. And a lot of people don't know this about these clamps. If you take the end off, you can flip it around, and instead of this being a clamp, it's going to act as a spreader. Now you'll remember earlier in the video when I was talking about the 6-inch clamps, and I recommended you only stick with the 6-inch clamp. I personally have used the 24-inch and the 36-inch versions, and I've had 0 issues with these clamps. These are the exact same ones that you're going to typically see that are all pretty and blue and yellow at Lowe's. The brand name might be Irwin. And again, those are going to be 3 to 4 times the price. Sure, the fit and finish is not as sexy on the Pittsburgh versions, but they work equally well. So stop wasting money on name brand and buy yourself some Pittsburghs. You won't regret it. All right, boys and girls, let's take a moment and get serious for just 1 second. We're going to talk about item number 6, and this is an item you don't see a lot of people talking about because quite frankly, it's not exciting. It's boring. But the reality is, it's one of the most important things you should have in your workshop. You guessed it, I'm talking about dust collection. This Harbor Freight dust collector retails for $249.99, and let me tell you, you're gonna wanna look on Facebook and join every single Harbor Freight dust collection modification group you can find, as well as search YouTube for a ton of videos. The amount of information out there on how to modify this dust collector and make it perform extremely well is mind-blowing. There is so much amazing information out there, and with a retail price of $249.99 and some additional money to modify that, you can have yourself a pretty nice dust collector to get started. Sure, it's not going to be as fancy as some of the $3,000 to $5,000 entire shop systems, but again, you're at least taking the right step forward and protecting those lungs so that you can have a long career working out here in the wood shop doing something you enjoy. And item number 7 shocked me just as much as it's probably going to shock you, but we're talking about the standard central machinery Bauer or Drill Master heat gun. I believe this unit retails for $16.99. Fun fact, I used to race 8 scale nitro RC cars, and we used to have to break those motors in with a heat gun. So I went ahead and purchased a very expensive, nice Milwaukee unit. And wouldn't you know it, take a wild guess. What heat gun do you see me holding in my hand today? That's right, the Milwaukee crapped out on me, and the good old central machinery is still running strong. A simple heat gun like this can be often overlooked in a wood shop, but I find myself using this quite often, especially when I'm out here doing any type of soldering and I need to put some heat shrink over that solder joint. The heat gun works perfect for that. Or if I buy some lumber and some genius stuck a bunch of stickers on the face side of it, I can use the heat gun and try to remove those stickers, and it's going to leave me just a marginal amount of glue to clean up. And I also use this to help my polyurethane or paint dry a little quicker. So again, guys, for $16.99, I would definitely recommend. If you guys are enjoying this type of content and you really want to help out my small channel, drop a comment below and let me know what you think of the items I've talked about, and also drop your own personal recommendation for cheap items you've purchased from Harbor Freight Tools that you would recommend. And item number 8 is going to be the innovative Festool track saw. I'm just kidding, come on, let's be real. Although Festool was the pioneer of the track saw, there are other budget-friendly options out there such as Makita and DeWalt. I believe Wen makes a track saw, Triton makes a track saw, and Ryobi is even throwing their hat into the ring. However, in all seriousness, let's talk a little bit about item number 8, and that's going to be this 50-inch circular saw edge guide. And right now this retails for $39.99, slightly cheaper than the Festool track saw, yet it will deliver the same results, just takes a little extra time to get set up. Next up on the list is another item I don't use all that often in the workshop, but when I need one, they are invaluable, and that's going to be the Pittsburgh strap clamp. These retail for, I believe, $5.99, as you can see right here. And as you can see in the picture, these work perfect when you're making some type of drawers or cabinets, or you need something to be perfectly square, or you're trying to glue up a bunch of miter joints and make sure they fit perfect and square. The strap clamp is the tool for you, and again, at $5.99, you can't go wrong. I've used Bessie, and I've also used the Pittsburgh. I've got no complaints. Again, I would highly recommend this one. And we're finally on to item number 10. You're gonna see a theme with my 10 items. Yes, we're gonna be talking about another clamp that Harbor Freight or Pittsburgh sells. This is the 24-inch aluminum bar clamp, and these are some of my favorite clamps for gluing up cutting boards. These again are underrated, and they receive a lot of negative reviews or flack online because they don't know the secret sauce on how to make these clamps be professional. Let me quickly reposition that camera and share the secret sauce with you guys. So right out the gate, you're gonna notice when you flip this clamp over, these are actually made out of very thin aluminum. It's a C-channel style clamp, and they're hollow inside. That's gonna really allow this to twist like you can see here. So here's the secret sauce. You're gonna notice this plastic end cap. Simply remove that plastic end cap, grab a spare 1x6 or 1x2, whatever you have laying around in your shop, rip that down and just make sure you sneak up on the final size. You would like a nice press fit, and I simply used a rubber mallet to drive mine home. And once you have that 1x6 in there, you'll notice this no longer flexes. So remember early on in the video when I said you can never have too many clamps? Well, if you go out and start pricing Jorgensen or Bessie clamps, you're gonna quickly realize you can maybe only afford 1 or 2 clamps. So just putting a little extra effort into buying these cheaper clamps just goes to show you, you can actually have a pretty professional clamp for a quarter of the price. I believe the 24-inch one retails for around $11.99, and they make these all the way up to a 60-inch clamp. Unfortunately, that's the 10 items I'm gonna talk about in this video. Big thank you to everybody that made it this far into the video. If you guys love this type of content and wanna support my channel, the easiest way to do that would just be to hit the like button. If you truly don't wanna miss all my other content, make sure you follow all my social media, click that subscribe button. And if you wanna help support the channel, go ahead and check out my Amazon storefront. I have that link down below. I only add items to that storefront that I personally believe in and have used. I'm not going to recommend you guys go buy some piece of crap. And I do have an Etsy store where you guys can see the type of products that I make and manufacture here in my wood shop with a lot of these items that I just talked about. And again, drop a comment and let me know what type of content you guys want to see. I make this content for you guys. We'll catch you on the next video.